You have 19 minutes. 19 minutes until a nuclear warhead launched from an unknown location incinerates the city of Chicago and kills an estimated 10 million people. The world's most sophisticated missile defense systems have failed. Time is up. All that's left is to decide how to respond. Do you lash out, potentially starting a global thermonuclear war, or do you do nothing, absorbing an unprecedented attack and risking the end of your nation? It's your orders, Mr. President. This is the nauseating, high-stakes premise of A House of Dynamite, the new Netflix thriller from Academy Award-winning director Kathryn Bigelow. In her first film in nearly a decade, Bigelow has crafted a movie that shot to #1 on the streaming charts, sparked intense debate, and has become one of the most talked about and divisive films of the year. It's a film that some critics have hailed as a masterfully constructed urgent warning, while others have dismissed it as a frustrating, aimless exercise that fumbles at the finish line. So what's the real story? Today we're going to break down the critical and public fallout, dissect the controversial choices that split the audience, and I'll give you my take on why a film with that one critic called the worst ending in many years might just be one of the most important movies you'll see this year. Before we get into the debate, let's set the stage. A House of Dynamite opens on a deceptively normal morning on Washington, D.C. We meet a sprawling ensemble cast of government officials and military personnel, all beginning with what they believe is just another day at the office. Our primary entry point is Captain Olivia Walker, played with a steady, grounding presence by Rebecca Ferguson. She's a senior officer in the White House Situation Room, juggling the pressures of her job with caring for her sick son at home. Her world and the world at large is shattered when early warning radar detects a single, unidentified intercontinental ballistic missile, or ICBM, streaking towards the United States. Its target, Chicago. What follows is a real-time procedural thriller as the entire apparatus of the US government lurks into action. We see the president, played by a commanding Idris Elba, evacuated by the Secret Service. We're in the Pentagon with Secretary of Defense Reed Baker, Jared Harris, who makes a desperate failed attempt to evacuate his estranged daughter. We're at Fort Greely, Alaska with Major Daniel Gonzalez, Anthony Ramos, whose team is responsible for launching the interceptor missiles, America's last line of defense. But the true conflict of the film isn't just about stopping the missile. The central paralyzing problem is that no one knows who launched it. Is it Russia, North Korea, Iran? The lack of attribution turns the situation from a straightforward military crisis into a terrifying global game of nuclear chicken. General Anthony Brady, Tracy Letts, pushes for an immediate retaliatory strike, arguing that inaction is a sign of weakness. Countering him is
Jake Barrington, Deputy National Security Advisor.
Gabriel Basso, who advises restraint until the source can be confirmed, warning that a mistake could trigger World War III. Every decision, every debate happens under the crushing weight of a 19-minute countdown in a claustrophobic sandbox of doomsday porn where every choice could be the last one humanity ever makes. Upon its release, A House of Dynamite became an instant streaming success, dominating Netflix global charts and generating significant Oscars buzz. However, its reception has been as volatile as its subject matter, creating a clear divide between those who admire its craft and those who are infuriated by its narrative. Almost everyone agrees on one thing: Kathryn Bigelow's direction is masterful. She takes a story set almost entirely in enclosed government rooms, the White House Situation Room, the Pentagon, military bases, and injects it with a fast pulse and humanity. Critics lauded the film as a masterclass at building tension, creating a chillingly credible and nerve-wracking atmosphere that keeps you on the edge of your seat. The first 35 minutes in particular have been called some of the best and most gripping filmmaking of the year. This tension is amplified by a stellar ensemble cast, from Idris Elba's portrayal of a president cornered by an impossible choice to Rebecca Ferguson's steady-handed officer and Gabriel Basso's vulnerable but determined advisor. The performances are universally praised for their grounded realism, never giving in to cheap histrionics even under the most extreme duress. Here's where the audience splits. Just as the tension reaches its absolute peak and the missile is about to impact Chicago, the film does something audacious and deeply controversial. It cuts back 20 minutes and tells the story again from a different perspective. The film is broken into 3 chapters, each replaying the same 19-minute window through the eyes of different characters. For many viewers, this structural choice was a fatal flaw. Critics called it redundant and repetitive, arguing that it brought the film's incredible momentum to a complete standstill. still. Some viewers on forums like Reddit noted that the new perspectives didn't add enough meaningful information to justify resetting the timeline, serving only to stall the story with personal subplots that felt like filler. However, other viewers and critics saw this structure as the film's secret weapon. They argue that by forcing us to relive the countdown, Bigelow deepens our understanding of the crisis. Disembodied voices from the first act become fully realized characters in the second and third, giving greater context to their decisions. One writer argued that the repetition serves a crucial emotional function even though we know the interceptors will fail each time. The actors play their parts so well that we can't help but hope that this time things will be different, trapping the audience in the same agonizing loop of hope and dread as the characters. If the structure was a fracture point, the ending was a full-blown earthquake. After building for nearly 2 hours, showing us the same catastrophic countdown 3 times, the film ends abruptly with no resolution. We never see the bomb hit Chicago. We never learn the president's final decision on retaliation. The screen just cuts to black, leaving the audience hanging on an unprecedented cliffhanger. The backlash was immediate and intense. Audiences and critics called it a massive fumble, a cop-out close, and massively frustrating. One reviewer declared it undoubtedly the best film with the worst ending in many years, arguing that to have the worst ending, a film would first need to have an ending at all. The frustration is understandable. It feels like listening to a song that builds to a powerful chorus that never arrives. But again, there is another interpretation. For some, this non-ending is the entire point. The film is called A House of Dynamite, a title that comes from the line where the president reflects on how humanity has built a world filled with nuclear weapons just waiting for a spark.
Making all these bombs and all these plans, and the walls are just ready to blow.
From this perspective, the film was never intended to be a satisfying disaster movie with a spectacular explosion. Its goal is to be a harrowing simulation confronting us with the shared nuclear conundrum we all live in. By denying the audience the catharsis of a conclusion, Bigelow forces us to sit with the unresolved anxiety and the terrifying questions the film raises. What ending could possibly be more effective, one defender asked, than leaving the viewer to grapple with the situation themselves? This is the central paradox for the film. Its greatest strengths are also its most cited weaknesses. The very artistic choices that make it powerful, thought-provoking piece of commentary are the same ones that make it an unsatisfying thriller for a large part of the audience. So where do I land on this? I have to be honest, when the critics rolled, my first reaction was anger. I felt cheated. I was completely gripped for the entire runtime, expecting a huge climactic decision, the launch, the impact, something. And then nothing. I was right there with the viewers who called it a cop-out. But then, as I sat with it for a little bit, that frustration started to curdle into something else. It started to feel like the point. The film had successfully instilled in me the exact feeling it was trying to explore, a profound and unresolved anxiety. I realized the film denies us the spectacle of the explosion because in our reality, the true horror of the nuclear age isn't the hypothetical blast. It's the constant low-grade, unending tension of living with the possibility of the blast. We are all living in this house of dynamite. The film's abrupt ending doesn't let us off the hook by showing us a fictional apocalypse. Instead, it pushes us out of the theater and back into the real world, forcing us to recognize that we are still in that room. The countdown is still running and there is no guarantee of a satisfying conclusion. The repetitive structure, which initially felt like a drag, started to feel like a brilliant depiction of being trapped in a nightmare. We see these competent, dedicated professionals, parents, spouses, children, caught in an inescapable loop of procedure and terror, their humanity clashing with the cold mechanics of mutually assured destruction. Ultimately, A House of Dynamite functions as a kind of political Rorschach test. Its ambiguous ending forces us to project your own fears and beliefs onto it. As evidenced by discussions online and in major newspapers, viewers immediately began debating how current political leaders would handle such a crisis, making the film less a piece of historical fiction and more of a terrifyingly relevant stress test for our own time. It's a film designed not to entertain, but to start a conversation, and in that, it succeeds brilliantly. So, should you watch A House of Dynamite? My answer is a firm but heavily qualified yes. This is a masterfully crafted, impeccably acted, and almost unbearably intense film. Kathryn Bigelow remains one of the few directors who can make procedural tension feel truly cinematic. However, you must go in knowing what it is and what it isn't. If you're looking for a traditional political thriller with a clear villain, a heroic resolution, and a big satisfying payoff, you will likely walk away feeling frustrated and disappointed. But if you are prepared for a film that will challenge you, unsettle you, and stick with you long after the credits roll, if you are open to an experience that prioritizes thematic provocation over narrative satisfaction, then A House of Dynamite is an essential, powerful, and deeply thought-provoking watch. It's a difficult film, but its difficulty is what makes it so vital. But this is a movie that everyone has an opinion on, and I really want to hear yours. Did the ending work for you, or did it ruin the entire experience? Was the repeating structure a brilliant device, or just a boring gimmick to fill time? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching.